This is the seventh in my series From Portraits to Puddles, New York City Memorials from the Civil War to the World Trade Center Memorial. Let's pause after the depressing American Merchant Mariners Memorial to take a quick survey of the change in war memorials over the past 150 years. The memorials erected in Manhattan after the Civil War honored specific leaders and heroes. You can tell that just from reading their titles: Erickson, Sherman, Sheridan, Farragut, Webb. For the Spanish-American War 30 years later, we had the short-lived Dewey Arch and the grand allegorical main monument at Columbus Circle. More heroes and more satisfaction in a job well done. The memorials erected after World War I reveal a significant change. Only one is a portrait sculpture, and it represents a chaplain rather than a fighting man. The other World War I memorials show anonymous figures, several of them wounded or dead. Again, the list of titles reveals the trend: the Chelsea Park Memorial, the Abingdon Square Memorial, the Flanders Field Memorial, and so on. These memorials honor not generals and admirals, but the tens of thousands who fought and died. Within the 5 boroughs of New York City, more than 20 of these World War I memorials were erected by local communities to honor their dead. In tribute to those who died in World War II, we see for the first time a monument without human figures, the East Coast Memorial with its symbolic eagle. You might wonder why there are 6 memorials to World War I in Manhattan, but only this one to World War II. After all, 4 times as many American soldiers died in World War II. The answer is that Robert Moses, the czar of the New York City Parks Department for several decades, decided that each borough should have a single large memorial rather than many small ones. Only Brooklyn gathered enough funds for a grand monument. It stands in Cadman Plaza, near the east end of the Brooklyn Bridge. But even that memorial wasn't completed on the scale of the original design. And now back to our story of the progression of war memorials. In the memorials erected in the 1990s, we saw the anonymous Universal Soldier silhouette for the Korean War and the anonymous doomed figures on the Merchant Mariners Memorial. What's the next step beyond anonymous and depressing? To have no figures of any sort. This phase started in the early 1980s with Maya Lin's Vietnam Veterans Memorial on the Mall in Washington. Usually referred to as the Wall, this memorial consists of a list of names inscribed on black granite slabs that are sunk below ground level. Lin's design was enormously controversial when it was chosen, but many Americans favored it because they had ambivalent feelings about the Vietnam War. They wanted an unobtrusive memorial, one that recognized but did not honor those who died in Vietnam. New York has 2 descendants of the Wall, the New York Police Memorial and the New York Vietnam Veterans Memorial. They're both within easy walking distance of Battery Park. The New York Vietnam Veterans Memorial consists of a map of Vietnam, flanked by 2 rows of small slabs with lists of names. Behind these stands a wall whose glass blocks are inscribed with fragments of letters written by those who served in Vietnam to their family and friends at home. The wall is made unobtrusive, almost invisible, by being set so that the short end faces the street. So the Vietnam Memorial in New York is a map, a list of names, and a wall with excerpts from letters. The New York Police Memorial, which commemorates officers who fell in the line of duty, is even starker than that. It consists of names on a wall with a pool and trickling stream. But the stream has significance. The problem is that if I don't tell you the significance, you'll never know it. Here's the official explanation of this memorial. Long quote. The design of the memorial is composed of two distinct parts using water as a metaphor. A fountain serves as the genesis of the memorial and represents the rookie police officer's first day, while a linear flume acts as the timeline of the officer's career. Water flows gently over the split-face bottom of the flume, leading to a slot in the granite wall. Finally, the water comes to rest in a shallow pool, marking the police officer's death. The death of the police officer is commemorated in an outdoor room defined by two parallel granite walls and depressed 30 inches below the esplanade. A wall along the western edge holds the names of the officers and dates on which they were killed. Constructed of green granite, the stone is rendered with a split-face finish facing outward and polished surface facing inward, reinforcing the sacred nature of the space. Outside the room, 3 flagpoles stand as sentinels. End of the long quote. So, the stream is an officer's career, the pool is his death in the line of duty, and the contrast between polished and rough granite indicates sacredness. This is not common symbolism. It's not something a passerby might be expected to know, the way he'd know at the East Coast Memorial that an eagle symbolizes America and a wreath symbolizes mourning. The New York Police Memorial is so abstract and abstruse that it requires that someone explain its meaning. In that sense, it's like that light shining through the head of the soldier in the Korean War Memorial. The New York Police Memorial is peaceful, and it's a soothing place to sit and rest, but it does nothing to remind us of the courage and dedication of police officers who died in the line of duty. Okay, lesson number 7 for the World Trade Center. The focal points of the Police Memorial and the New York Vietnam Veterans Memorial are lists of names. But there's a problem with this. Memorials are erected by the living to help remember those who have died. It's certainly not wrong to include lists of names. Such lists appear on the main memorial, on many local World War I memorials, and on the East Coast Memorial, to name a few. The problem arises when the lists of names plus architectural or landscape elements are the sole content of the memorial. If you visit the New York Vietnam Memorial or the New York Police Memorial with Erickson or the East Coast Memorial fresh in your mind, you'll literally feel the difference. Proper names identify specific people. If you don't know those people personally, then the most you can get from such a list of names is lots of policemen died or lots of servicemen died in Vietnam. An artist, a visual artist, can reach a much wider audience with a well-conceived and well-executed portrait of a specific human being, such as Erickson, or an allegorical or symbolic figure, such as the eagle on the East Coast Memorial. Put simply, representational figures communicate ideas and values across space and time in a way that proper names alone cannot.